Hello all! Today I'll be working on a scarf made with hypoallergenic acrylic yarn that was donated to me from another fiber artist's stash, and honestly kvetching about not understanding those dead set against community building. I hope you enjoy. My name is Took. I'm a disabled genderqueer weaver who's had life take odd turns, but who knows that even tattered and worn yarn still has value, and that tired joints and health flares don't have to stop the journey. I weave exclusively with secondhand fibers, aided with adaptive warping, HR and OSHA cats, and a wonderful found family. Welcome to Hawksong Weaving, where all our paths are a little bit warped. First, a bit of an explanation on why I've developed this adaptive warping method. I have hypermobile Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, which has cascaded into postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome. So for time's sake, know that I have joints that don't work, and if I shift positions too quickly, I get pre-syncope or pre-fainting symptoms. All of this comes with chronic pain, so for a lot of reasons, a traditional warping board doesn't work for me, along with being really expensive and taking up a lot of space in my small studio. So I use an accordion coat rack as my warping board. It's nice and neat, it contracts into a nice smaller space, and I can adjust it as I need to. And I don't need to be up and down and all around and having tachycardia, a racing heart, that stresses out my medical alert cat Penelope Calico. No, she's not actually trained or licensed, she is just a calico who has tortitude about my heart rate and is happy to scream her opinions of said heart rate at me. I was dealing with some chronic fatigue and brain fog, so I was moving a bit more slowly, so a bit of a time skip, and now that the warp threads are sorted, I've lifted up the loom to release the warping board from the loom, gathering the warp threads into one large bundle and using the back of my neck to drape them over and keep them tidy and out of the way while I collapse the warping board and get it tucked out of the way until I'm at a full pause point. I use terry cloth towels to cushion the warp threads. This helps prevent the finished weaving from being tighter at the ends and looser in the middle, creating a sort of sausage profile in the weaving. I'm winding the warp on the back apron bar, keeping an eye on the tension and making sure that things are finger combed, but really the tension will be largely handled by the terry cloth towel, and I prefer to weave at a fairly high tension, so things end up working out down the line. The way I warp has me cutting the warp loops at the end of winding the warp. This is what's easiest on my body. It won't work for everyone, but that's okay. This isn't a great angle, but I'm being careful to pay attention to how the warp threads are laying on the back bar of the loom, and the right hand thread goes through the smaller hole in the rigid heddle reed. It's not critical, and some minor mistakes aren't the end of the world, but it does make it easier to keep the tension of the warp threads even across the entire weaving. I'd like to thank you for watching. If you'd like to support my work, some free ways to do that are to like, subscribe, or follow, and share. This applies to other small artists as well. It's a great way to let the social media algorithms know that this is content worth watching. If you'd like to support me financially, there's a Buy Me a Coffee linked below, which acts as sort of a tip jar. Also, now that there are so many of you absolutely fantastic and wonderful subscribers, I've been able to link the online Hawksong Weaving shop, so feel free to check out the unique handwoven products. This next bit is absolutely a joke, but just in case, in this economy I won't say no. For $1,000 a month, you can tell me that I'm not actually disabled, I'm just lazy, and to try whatever yoga, juice cleanse, snake oil nonsense fixed your cousin. Feel free to message me and I'll get you my payment deets. I take Cash App, Venmo, and PayPal for this nonsense. But there's also a new exciting thing in the works. Some friends and I have started a new nonprofit, Mill River Marginalized Artists Collective. I stumbled my words there for a second. The Mill River Marginalized Artists Collective, or MIRMAC, provides support, resources, and opportunities for marginalized artists, by marginalized artists, and our supporters. Separate we are small, together we are mighty. Our goals are to get a retail space in which to sell discounted, reclaimed art supplies and art by the marginalized artists of Western Massachusetts, and to offer grants to local marginalized artists for the purposes of purchasing art machines, looms, printing presses, printers, etc., digital advertising, art market vendor fees, transportation, and rental fees for MIRMAC retail space. The long-term goal is to offer a full lending library of art machines and other supplies, classes for artists by artists, and attend art markets on each other's behalf. Essentially, we're unionizing and forming a guild. I've attached all of the links down below. One of the best ways is to help is to follow and share everything we post in order to get our content past the algorithm suppression. Because our existence has been deemed political, and apps like Insta aren't going to share our work as easily. And this skip right here is why you don't try to film while you're having brain fog. I'm attaching the warp to the bottom apron bar, and it's pretty easy. I finger comb it, get it separated into bits about 4 to 5 warp threads wide, separate these bits into 2, and then do a half hitch tie to the apron bar. And I missed the first bit of filming this. Thankfully, I remembered before it was too late, but yeah, don't try to film and do things when you have brain fog and before you've had any form of caffeine. a quick tightening and getting the lower terry cloth towel into place. And then if you have hypermobile fingers, as you're tightening and, checking your tension on your loom, either put finger splints on or be very, very careful with your fingertips, because you can absolutely sprain them in the wrong direction very easily by tightening the warp. You can't see it really clearly, but I am absolutely clenching my muscles trying to keep my fingertip joints in place on my thumb, and it's a pain in the butt. But, well, collagen thou art a fickle foe. Now getting started on the actual weaving. This is it didn't have the tags on it, but I know from experience that the weft that I'm using is made by ice. It's acrylic, it's very fuzzy. Does catch on your calluses, so like for people who have those particular sensory issues, it's not great, but it is very fuzzy and it's very like shimmery and opalescent and catches the light in a beautiful way. When one of my partners saw me weaving this, she was fully like, no, you need to call that Pink Pony Girl, because it's like sort of the bi flag, sort of the trans flag, all pink. You need to do some sort of content with Chapel Roan and all that jazz. Yeah, she was right. Alright, on to the community building kvetch. I just don't understand people who shove community support and mutual aid away. And I know that this lack of understanding probably stems from my particular black and white autistic thinking, a long-standing special interest in evolutionary psychology and sociology, and growing up with a family below the poverty line while desperately trying to pretend that they were upper middle class, but what the heck? From a pure survival standpoint, it doesn't make sense. No person is a monolith. No one can survive on their own. Why do people self-isolate and lash out? Why do they turn cold and small and mean? I get not having internalized self-worth. I've absolutely struggled with that. But when push comes to shove, I know that I have people relying on me, so I can't self-isolate and push help away. Honestly, some of the best advice I ever got was from a Spider-Man fanfic that unfortunately I cannot find. This little old lady scolded Peter Parker for not taking care of himself by saying, "With great power comes great responsibility, yes, but you have a responsibility to yourself too, or you're of no good to anyone." And I don't get it. I don't get biting the hand that offers comfort and community. I don't get lashing out and burning bridges and friendships. If they're actively hurting you, yes, leave, but when everyone is saying come at your own pace, there's no rush, we'll be here for you when you're ready, and then your answer is to lash out and bad talk them behind their back? I don't get it, especially as someone who's been in those shoes of relying on community support. My mental calculations, for lack of a better word, of relying on mutual aid is something I've had to explain to friends who haven't ever gone without support. And I know that my way of thinking about it is fairly broken due to my life experiences. But when I moved to Northampton, I didn't know anyone here but my partners. And then when my health started failing and I wasn't able to work a traditional 9 to 5 anymore, I knew I needed to dive into community mutual aid and build a support network as soon as I could. Because my housing, my survival relied on it should something catastrophic go wrong with my partners. Nothing ever has. I'm in a stable polytriad, and all three of us are in this for the long haul, but you can't ever count on that, especially with internalized ableism dripping poison in your ear. I can't afford to burn bridges unless it's an absolute last resort, because should things go horribly wrong, I'm relying on having friends who can let me couch surf until I get into a different situation. None of us in this economy anywhere can afford to be a monolith. Pretty much everyone I know is terrifyingly close of being a few steps away from being homeless. We can't afford to be monoliths. As a disabled person in this community, I rely on those social bonds, because I know that there's going to be times when I need support and I need people to know that I've got their backs whenever I can. I don't ever want anyone to be in that scared position by themselves. Support is fluid, it's never going to be 50-50, and there's an understanding that you pass that support on when you can, but if you can help and receive help knowing that you'll pass it on, why wouldn't you receive that help? Or at least not lash out. Like, you don't need to be helped by me. You're under no obligation from accepting my assistance, but I don't understand you knowing that it's a genuine offer of assistance and then lashing out and hurting me and everyone around me. I'm rambling. And yeah, this is clearly about someone and I'm just processing via a YouTube channel. But what the heck? I'm tired. I'm tired. Ugh. I don't understand and I'd like to. And it's going to be painful until I understand, and probably painful once I understand. But I don't in the meantime, and it's... What the heck? What the heck? Alright, calming myself down and getting myself some tea, because this fervor isn't actually going to accomplish anything and get anything done. But here we go, keeping on. Gosh darn it. Now tying off the scarf fringes, I prefer to do 2x2 warps tied into a fringe of 4, but we'll do a double sliding square knot of 3 if I don't have a wide enough warp. I'm trying to show that double sliding square knot of three, but my camera is shaking because I have it leaned up at an angle and the cats kept pestering it. But hopefully this is sort of showing you what I'm talking about. Doing like a little slide and then a square knot, and then here we go. Now, unrolling this for the first time, Miss Penelope Calico was feeling herself and was quite irritated with me, so you'll see her in the background quite a bit in there. Oh, I love her so much, but it's like having a border collie and a husky in the body of a cat. finishing tying off this end, and then it's on to trimming and finishing off the fringe. I steam block my wool blend scarves. This helps the wool fibers to soften into each other and relax into the weave. Without blocking, you can get wrinkles because the weave tends to be stiff without the added heat and water, but obviously I can't do that with an acrylic scarf. It would melt. So instead, I'm eyeballing the length of fringe that I want and using the don't ask me how much I spent on these good shears and trimming it. The final step is between half an hour and 45 minutes of tying the fringe knots. Tying off the fringe knots isn't always necessary, but it does provide a more finished looking final product, and it's just one of those small details that can really make a scarf pop. And with enough yarn to make another one of these scarves, here we go! Thank you for coming along as I wove a scarf from different donated yarns. I'm so glad for the odd turn that your path took that brought you here. Thank you for spending time with me at Hawksong Weaving, where we're all a bit warped. And I hope that you have a truly excellent week.